Hey guys, hope you guys are doing very well. Today I'm going to present you something on design pattern and design principles. These two topics very close to each other and sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate between these two. I still remember during 2009 or 2010 when I went for one interviewer first asked me this question that what is the difference between design pattern and design principles. To be very frank, I was not quite prepared during that time. And today, when I was just thinking that what to present, what to prepare, I thought, why not these two? So here am I today, and I hope that you will enjoy this session. Please join with me in this session. You will get into details on the design pattern and design principles. This will definitely help you not only for the interview, whenever you are going for any solutioning or design thinking, it will going to help you immensely. So stay tuned, and I'm just requesting you that if you are watching till this time, please go ahead and subscribe this channel. That will encourage me to come prepared with some more sessions down the line. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. Thank you. So design principles are some of the guidelines or the best practices to deliver high quality software product. It is kind of some of the parameters that if you follow this kind of parameters, your software will become more resilient, more scalable, and performance wise, it will be with best quality. So that's why these are the some guidelines. And then what is the design patterns? So patterns is the implementation. This is some kind of an, let's say, proven solution for your recurring problems. I mean, this kind of problems already we may have encountered in the past, and we know that what could be the solution for this kind of problem. So why should we go and reinvent the wheel when the solution for that specific problem already available? So that's why design patterns comes into the picture. I'll try to give you one kind of a real life example, and that might help you to relate these things in better way. Let's take this example. Let's say we are going to build one apartment, and these are the parameters that we have got from the city council for this one, right? What is that? Let's say this apartment should have elevators. There should be water treatment plant. That garbage recycle plant should be there, and it should also have a common electric supply, right? So these are the few of the guidelines that you have got from your city council or municipal corporation. And if you follow these parameters, so then the people who will be living here, they will have no other concerns, right? So these are the guidelines or principles. So you can tell this is a design principles, right? Design principles. Now let's see how we can make this or convert this as a design pattern. Okay, so let's say now take one of these principle here, right, which is your, let's say, elevators. Okay, now while implementing these elevators, we have decided that elevators should have thousands kgs of weight. I mean, it should carry 1000 kgs of weights. Then it should have an electric backup, and then because we know, right, that how many people will be staying there and what is the basic necessity for this one. So whenever you are going to implement all these things, and you should follow some kind of a pattern, so that we can tell as a design pattern, right? Design pattern. Okay, so I believe that you got that. So let's now focus on the some of the design principles. First one is KEYS. The name is very peculiar. The full form of it, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, just focus on the first three words. So that is the essence of this principle. Keep it simple, right? This means that it's asking you or telling you, don't make your code much complex, and whatever the unnecessary complexity is there, you just remove that. Keep the things as simple as possible. That will help you to make your code easily maintainable. Correct? Let's move on to the next principle. That is dry. Don't repeat yourself. That means You no need to repeat the same code again and again, right? So if you think that there are similar kind of implementation, you can go for a common implementation. That will really help you again to make your code scalable, and with this reusable code, your code will be very much maintainable. Yagni, you are not gonna need it. So this comes from XP, extreme programming, right? So extreme programming is one type of agile programming process. Here they are telling you that do not implement the extra things. I mean, you just implement the things which is only required for you at this moment. Just focus on the current thing, and in that way it will help you to remove the wastage. Next is Occam's razor. So Occam was a 14th century philosopher, as mentioned in this slide, and who coined this principle. So this principle says that if there is a multiple hypothesis, always select the one which is having less assumptions. During your development cycle, we don't have all this information beforehand. Whenever you are going with this development, time to time you will get to know more details. So there are few times that you will have too many assumptions. So this kind of principle will help there, that you just choose that if there are multiple options available, go for the one which is having fewest assumptions. Limited divide responsibilities and reduce coupling. So that means whenever you are having multiple companies which are integrated very closely, it is very difficult for you to run the show. You know, I mean, whenever you are going for the development or deployment, as those things are closely integrated, it will be very difficult to maintain. So the objective of this principle is to remove those responsibilities among those components, make the component independent. Okay. Next is the very important pattern, that is solid pattern. If you are in object-oriented development, this is the pattern you should follow. This is much more complex than the above that we have discussed so far, and this pattern also needs, multiple sessions to understand. So I'll try to come up with some of the sessions down the line. For now, just focus on the 5 pillars of this pattern. So as the name suggests that it's having SOLID, right? So everything represent one pillar. That means S, as I mentioned in my slide, is single responsibility principle. O for open close principle. L for list of substitution principle. I interface segregation principle. And D dependency inversion principle. As I told you that every pillar needs its own explanation, and we need to have multiple sessions to cover this up. So we have done with our design principle types. Now it's time for us to get into design pattern types. So design patterns are divided into 3 types broadly. One is creational design patterns, next is structural design patterns, and behavioral design patterns. And underneath every design patterns, there are some of the subtypes, right? I mean, how we can do these things. For example, for these creational design patterns, you can see that we are having builder, prototype, factory, abstract factory, singleton, right? So these are some of the patterns you can choose to implement your creational design patterns. And what is creational design patterns? It's all about the object creations. Let's say whenever you are going to create the object of a class, how you can do that, right? I mean, what are the various way, what is the best possible way to that, to make the things very much scalable and resilient. So all these stuffs you can get to know under this creational design patterns. And as I mentioned earlier, that here, like design principles also, every patterns under these things need detailed discussion. So if you are interested to any of these things, search in the Google, you will get to know. And I also come up with some of the patterns down the line to discuss with you in more details. Structural design patterns. In structural design patterns, you can see like creational design patterns, it is also having so many ways to implement that, like adapter, bridge, composite, decoder, facet, flyweight, and proxy. And it's about the how your classes are structured, right? So that's why it's called as structural design patterns. The last one is the behavioral design patterns. I mean, how the different class or entities behaves, right? React to each other. So all these stuffs you can get to know under these behavioral design patterns, like observer, like chain of responsibility, command, state. All these things are very, useful whenever you are going to implement this kind of design pattern under behavioral design patterns, right? So let's say if we'll take the example for the observer at this moment. So in terms of observer, in case of any model is getting changed, it will automatically update the view that this model is getting changed. So in case of any behavioral change of your model, it will update the view, right? So in this session, we got to know about the different types of design principle and design patterns. What are the difference between them? And as I said, that everything under this one needs elaboration and need a separate session. So I'll try to come up with some of the session, but you can also go and search in the Google. I think this session will provide you kind of a launch pad for your upcoming learning curve on solutioning. Requesting you once again to share, subscribe, and provide your comments. That will really help me in future. Thank you. Thanks for your time.